The Iowa Clinic on TV-8.
It's 6 o'clock. And now, from TV-8, where news is #1, Paul Rhodes, Kevin Cooney, Connie McBurney with weather, and Pete Taylor sports. This is TV-8 News, live at 6.
Good evening. Last night's vote in the legislature to ban foam packaging products in Iowa sent a minor shockwave through the state's food industry. Tonight, within 24 hours of House approval, the proposal apparently is dead. Our State House reporter, Chris Lidstad, here now with details about the future of foam products in Iowa. Chris?
Well, Paul, the proposal died not so much because it's a bad idea, but more because it came up just too late in this session to receive careful consideration. Now, this legislature likes the reputation it has earned as an environmental protector, but with adjournment fewer than 4 days away, lawmakers drew the line today at foam packaging.
I want to put a soup in there.
Polystyrene foam products are as common in takeout restaurants as drive-through windows have become.
Hi, $4.75.
Foam cartons are cheap, neat, and easy to use, but environmentalists say they don't break down in landfills, so their use should be banned. In a surprise move last night, the Iowa House agreed. But before the measure even hit the Senate floor today, senators agreed privately to kill the foam packaging ban.
We'll take it out. I think there's too many ramifications that would affect jobs in the state if we were to do that right away.
The proposed ban would come down hard on some major fast food chains, which use polystyrene cartons almost exclusively. But smaller restaurants use foam products too. Now that may change without the force of law.
I think if the public wants it, even though it doesn't pass, it might be a place that might be looked down upon if they're still using it. So I think a lot of places might tend to get away from it.
That's just what Des Moines Representative Tony Bisignano had in mind when he proposed the idea. And although he accepts defeat this year, he says the issue will not go away.
This amendment could be modified to give more phase-in time, but I think what it says is this issue's here to stay. If it doesn't pass this year, it'll be brought up again next year, and it will become a law in Iowa.
The polystyrene ban is attached to a spending bill for environmental programs. That bill now will return to the House, minus the foam ban, and will likely end up in a joint conference committee between the two chambers to work out other differences lawmakers have.
How close are they to adjournment now, Chris?
Well, this bill and a few others are giving them some trouble. Depending on who you ask, it could be any one of the days this weekend. Leaders say Saturday night sometime. Everyone else seems to say Sunday morning. Hard to tell, but I'd say Sunday morning.
All right, thank you, Chris. And Governor Branstad's mother, Rita Branstad, died of an apparent heart attack today at the age of 64. She suffered the attack at her home in Forest City and rushed to the hospital where she was pronounced dead. The governor was presenting an award at a school in Davenport at the time. He flew home to be with his family.
Des Moines Waterworks officials are concerned about the impact a growing suburb might have on the city's drinking water. Clive's housing boom could require a new wastewater treatment plant in the next 3 years. City officials in Clive are asking the State Department of Natural Resources for permission to dump treated wastewater in Walnut Creek. TV-8's Jill Kelly reports tonight Des Moines water users could end up footing part of the bill.
If the state gives the go-ahead, the city of Clive one day will use this creek to carry away treated wastewater from its proposed treatment plant. Walnut Creek feeds into the Raccoon River, which provides Des Moines drinking water. So Clive's wastewater treatment plant would be upstream of Des Moines water intake, raising concerns at Des Moines Waterworks.
One of the things that we have the real concern for is anything in our watershed that could adversely impact the quality of water and in turn cause us to have to expend more funds to treat it or to rule a particular source of water as unusable.
McMillan says he has no problem with Clive's treatment plant if the water they dump in Walnut Creek meets drinking water standards. Otherwise, he says, Des Moines will have to spend nearly $20 million to ensure pure drinking water. Clive officials say they'll meet EPA standards for wastewater standards. They say more than that would be unreasonable.
The type of treatment that we're proposing, which is a tertiary treatment, is the higher level of treatment. And then the stream itself, before it gets to the intakes for the water system, the water will be clean.
Clive currently uses Des Moines' wastewater treatment plant, but officials say housing developments like Country Club Estates will raise the volume of wastewater in the coming years. and a treatment plant is the most cost-effective way to handle the growing problem. McMillan would like to see Clive and the other expanding suburbs west of Des Moines join together to build one wastewater plant rather than several. Clive officials say they're open to the idea. After all, Clive residents also drink Des Moines water. Jill Kelly, TV-8 News, Clive.
The Department of Natural Resources will rule on Clive's discharge permit after a 30-day public comment period ends on April 18th.
Police have identified the victim in last night's fatal accident in Des Moines as 29-year-old Darrell Lamar, the 6400 block of Southeast 17th Street. He died of head injuries. Police said his car apparently crossed the center line near Southeast 25th and Maury and collided with a pickup truck headed west. 2 people in the pickup remain hospitalized with their injuries from the accident.
The disappearance of missing Des Moines paperboy Eugene Martin back in 1984 remains a mystery tonight, despite the small hope generated by a possible sighting of the boy recently. Late last night, Des Moines police detectives Jim Rowley and Joe Gonzalez both returned from a 5-day trip to Cancun, Mexico to search for Eugene Martin. Last month, a cousin said she thought she saw a young man resembling Martin at an airport, but she was afraid to approach him. Instead, she reported it to Des Moines police, and Chief William Mulder authorized a trip to Mexico to check it out. The detectives say they found one young man who slightly resembled Martin, but it wasn't him, and the detectives say they are confident that Martin is not in the area.
Is there any question in your mind that Eugene Martin is not down there?
I don't, after being down there for 5 days, no, I do not feel he's down there. I feel, after looking at the people down there, they do not age, and most of the Mexican youth have the bushy eyebrows and the dark complexion, and I could see why somebody would say, this kid looks like him. But no, we don't think he's down there.
The trip cost nearly $2,000. It will be paid for with seized drug money.
Coming up next on the TV News Live at 6, we'll update the Japanese merger with Westmar College in Lamar.
And Dana Carden checks on Pella's tulips in tonight's Eye on Iowa report.
Tonight's TV-8 News, live at 6, is being simulcast on KLVA in Albia, 1370 on your AM radio dial.
The newly formed Takeo Westmar College in Lamars will see its student numbers jump later this month with the arrival of the first Japanese students. The former Westmar College merged last month with Takeo University of Japan. The agreement called for Takeo to pump several $1 million into the Westmar operation. In return, Japanese students will go to school in Iowa. About 200 students start arriving April 18th. College officials say the students will spend their first few weeks getting used to Iowa and the English language. The students won't start classes until next fall.
The 55th annual Pella Tulip Festival is still 5 weeks away, but it's not too early to begin worrying about the tulips. There's always the concern that the colorful flowers will bloom either too early or too late. Eye on Iowa reporter Dana Carden stopped through Pella today to see what the bulbs will bring come May 10th.
There's one thing the Pella Tulip Festival never lacks, and that's color. Whether it's from the colorful costumes the residents wear, or the colorful characters that scrub the streets, or the colorful tulips that are everywhere in Pella. Last year, the locals say the tulips were the best in more than a decade, and they think this year may be just as good. Of course, predicting just how these tulips will look come May 10th is about the same as predicting what the weather will be that day. No one can say for sure. The good news is, since most of the tulips haven't budded yet, the next couple nights of below freezing weather won't hurt them. In fact, this cool weather is actually helping. Before this cold front moved in, officials were concerned that the tulips might bloom too early for the Tulip Festival.
Earlier, when the weather was so warm, we were a little worried that we should have had maybe a March 31 festival. But it looks favorable now. It's cool, and they're not growing that fast. And 5 weeks from today is the festival, and I believe we're right on schedule.
Whatever the tulips are like, the festival promises to be a success for Pella. Organizers already report a record number of advance ticket sales. An added attraction this year will be evening shows featuring the Up With People singers. This Dutch community has a theme that goes, Pella, it's more than tulips, and they prove that every year. But it's nice to think that all the yellows and reds and purples will explode right on time this year, right on time for the 55th annual Pella Tulip Festival. Dana Carden with an Eye on Iowa in Pella.
And when the time comes, I'm sure Dana will be there. So you're going to tell us about Project Main Street.
That's right, Paul. It is time to talk about Project Main Street again. KCCI TV and Casey's General Stores will be awarding 5 $1,000 grants for worthwhile community projects. Since the deadline for entries is Monday, you'll need to come to the station here at 888 9th Street in Des Moines to pick up an entry form. Previous projects range from spring cleanup projects to remodeling welcome centers. Projects must be completed by September 1st, and I'll have a cold forecast when we continue.
For the latest weather information, day or night, call the TV-8 Weather Beacon forecast at 262-7173. A 24-hour service of your Des Moines area Hy-Vee stores and C&H brown and powdered sugar.
Photographer Courtney Kinzer happened by Whitmer Park today and found some flowers. If you're concerned about your flowers at home tonight, you might want to put some mulch up around them or cover them because it will get quite cold, but right now it's not all that bad. Sunny skies, 42 degrees in Des Moines. Wind is out of the north at 23, gusting to 29, and we do have a relative humidity of 21% with a steady barometer. Clear skies across the entire state of Iowa right now, and these temperatures look nothing like what we had at this hour last night. Upper 30s up to the north, 38 at Mason City and over at Spencer. Some lower 30s in the central portion of the state, and down south they're hanging on to the middle 40s. 46 at Ottumwa and 46 at Burlington right now. Here in Des Moines, a high of 45. Our morning low was 32, and we're just a little bit below that normal high temperature for this time of year. Central Iowa close-up, the same story, a lot of 40s, a couple upper 30s, 39 at Iowa Falls and at Webster City. We start out the day at 6 o'clock this morning with some scattered cloudiness over the state of Iowa, but high pressure does build in, and by 5 o'clock there you can see the clear skies. The high is over eastern Montana right now. A little snow going on off to our north in Minnesota and across the Great Lakes region. Snow to our south as well. It's very light right now, but last night they did receive 3 inches of snow in western Nebraska, 6 inches of snow in the mountains of Wyoming. Little rain in between the two fronts here, and there is a tornado watch in effect until 10 o'clock tonight for portions of north central Texas. For tomorrow, we'll see this thing move south and east, keeping our skies for the most part clear, but we'll still have the strong northerly wind that will cool us off quite a bit. Temperatures right now very cool in the central United States, 20 degrees at International Falls, 23 degrees at Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, a bunch of 30s and 40s. The 30s as far south as Denver, 30 degrees even right now, 33 degrees at Oklahoma City. Skirting these cool temperatures, a bunch of 60s and 70s. At 6 o'clock, they're reporting 73 degrees in Miami, Florida. Forecast for the state of Iowa for tonight shows a weather beacon on wide. It'll be a little bit colder than it was last night with partly cloudy skies. Chance of flurries in about the northern 3/4 of the state. A northwest wind at 10 to 20. Temperatures will be in the teens up to the north and lower 20s to the south. And flurries. We're talking about flurries again tomorrow in about the northeast one half of the state. Partly sunny skies, a northwest wind at 15 to 30, and the temperatures ranging from the middle 30s to the middle 40s. Your forecast for Des Moines and central Iowa looks like this. Tonight, partly cloudy with a chance of flurries after midnight, a low around 20 degrees with a northwest wind at 10 to 20. Tomorrow, windy and continued cold under mostly sunny skies, high in the lower 40s, and the northwest wind continues at 15 to 30 miles per hour. Tomorrow night, clear and cold, low in the lower 20s. Saturday, mostly sunny and warmer, high in the middle 50s. The extended outlook for all of Iowa, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Chance of rain both on Monday and Tuesday, and the highs do get better with highs in the 50s to lower 60s, lows in the 30s to middle 40s. So we do have a warm-up on the way.
Good-looking weekend.
You bet.
Thanks, Steve. More federal aid for rural water systems is flowing from Washington to Iowa now. The Farmers Home Administration today announced over $2 million in loans and grants for 3 southern Iowa communities. The money will be used for water systems in Creston, Mount Ayr, and Diagonal. Some special funds also will be given to the Southern Iowa Rural Water Association for a pipeline that will serve 3 counties. The communities were targeted for special help after a tour last summer by U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Clayton Guider. Well, Steve said it was 42 degrees. Sounds like warm enough for baseball for me.
Cool baseball.
Let's go out to Sec Taylor Stadium. Pete Taylor's out there.
Yeah, I heard Steve say it's not too bad outside. Why doesn't he come outside then? Because it is a little chilly down at the ballpark, but the Iowa Cubs are here, and we'll talk with manager Jim Essian, talk about the Masters right after this. And before we start talking about Iowa Cubs baseball, let's first give you an update on the Masters today in Augusta, Georgia. That was the first round. The day belonged to Mike Donald, who tied an opening day record at the Masters. This chip on 18 helped Donald save par, and he finished the round with an 8 under par 64. In fact, he birdied 8 of the first 12 holes, and this tee shot on the par 3 12th got the ball to within about 3 feet for one of his birdies. Donald is playing his first ever Masters and has a 2-stroke lead on the field. Jack Nicklaus trying for his 7th Masters title here on 15 with a long eagle attempt. He gets a good roll on the ball, but it just rims the cup, and he has to settle for a birdie. He finished the day at even par 72. It was not a good day for several other big names, including Greg Norman. At 13, Norman with his second shot, but it comes up short. He finds the water on this one. He bogeyed that hole and finished 6 over for the day at 78. Other notables who had their problems include Tom Watson at 77, Tom Kite at 75, and Lee Trevino at 78. And once again, Mike Donald has the lead. He is 8 under par for the tournament. John Houston is next. He's 6 under. Peter Jacobson finished 5 under. And Dave Rummels of Iowa had a 74 today, so he's still a little bit back, but still kind of in contention. We'll have the complete wrap-up tonight on the 10 o'clock news. And now moving in here to join me is the Iowa Cubs manager, new Iowa Cubs manager, Jim Essian. Jim, welcome to Des Moines. Feel like you're in Candlestick Park, though, today?
Yeah, it's windy. It's a little windy and cold out here, but coming from Mesa, Arizona, it seems real cold.
I'll bet it does. Well, Jim, you have had kind of a different kind of a camp this year. You had your minor leaguers in before the major leaguers. Have you got a real good beat on your team at this point?
Yeah, we do. We think we've put together a real fine club, and the major league roster is being expanded to 27 players. Some of our 3 guys up there will eventually come down and join us on May the 1st, but I think we got a real fine club.
Can you give us any idea of what you're looking for? Do you think you'll have a speed and defense club or a power club or what?
Well, you know, we've got real good balance. We've got left-handed and right-handed hitting. We've got some speed and some power and some experienced bullpen people. I think we've put together a real solid competitive club.
How about pitching? That's always a concern at the AAA level. It seems like it's tough to get those guys in the rotation every day. They can really pitch well. Do you feel like you have 3 or 4 starters to go to?
Yes, sir, I do, and I think you're going to like our opening day pitcher, Sean Bosky, who's going to be going tomorrow night, opening day, and we'll follow with some real solid arms, and like I say, we've got good depth in the bullpen.
What do you try to do on a night like this now? It's pretty cold out there. You don't want anybody to hurt an arm or anything. You go through the regular batting practice and everything?
We'll go through regular. It's not too cold out here. It really is not. Once you know, if you're coming out to the ballpark, be sure to dress warm, but my guys are moving around and they're warm.
Okay, Jim, well, we want to wish you the best of luck on the season here with the Iowa Cubs, and believe me, it'll warm up by mid-July. You know that.
Okay, I know it will. Thank you.
Okay, Jim Essian, the new manager for the Iowa Cubs. And one more thing to tell you about, and it has to do with women's basketball. At the University of Oklahoma today, they reversed that decision to drop women's basketball. School announced last week that it was going to drop the sport. However, yesterday a law firm said eliminating the program was in violation of the Constitution and also federal law, so they changed their minds, and apparently basketball back on the books at the University of Oklahoma for the women's program. That's it from Sec Taylor Stadium right now, and it is starting to warm up. Maybe it's the sun that's coming through here, so it's not so bad right now.
We believe you, Pete. Thank you. A new report card is out on Iowa lawmakers giving them an A for economic development policies, but warning that Iowa has a long way to go before economic recovery truly arrives. A Washington-based think tank, the Corporation for Enterprise Development, issued the report today. It says Iowa is among the national leaders in development policy and is a leader in helping local communities adapt to economic change. But the state is given a D in both business vitality and development capacity, because the report says the biggest problem facing the state is a lack of investment capital.
Well, Superpower Summit has been set. We'll take a look at the national and world headlines and the markets in just a moment. Topping the national and world news, Superpower Summit is set now for May 30th. Soviet Foreign Minister Edward Shevardnadze and Secretary of State James Baker are stressing how much work is left to be done in preparing for the summit's extensive agenda. Baker and Shevardnadze are in the second day of their talks in Washington. South African leader Nelson Mandela is in Cape Town for a meeting with South African President F.W. de Klerk on ways to revive the negotiations toward ending white minority rule. But the leaders of 4 independent black homelands have pulled out of separate talks with de Klerk on the same issue. A South African official blames the withdrawal on what he calls intimidation from opposition groups. And NASA technicians have finished testing a super powerful Hubble Space Telescope. A NASA spokesman says although they're working under a tight schedule, there's no indication that the $1.5 billion telescope won't be launched as scheduled on board the Space Shuttle Discovery on Tuesday.
Stock market was mixed today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up nearly 2 points, but the average share of common stock was down 3 cents. Volume 144 million shares. New York gold was down $2.30 an ounce today, silver down a penny. Here in Iowa, the cattle market was steady to firm today. Hogs were generally 50 cents lower. Cash prices at Central Iowa elevators, corn was steady to 4 cents higher, soybeans 4 to 7 cents higher. Steve?
Paul, it is cold, but it won't last forever. We'll have partly cloudy skies tonight with a chance of flurries after midnight, low around 20. Tomorrow, windy and continued cold under mostly sunny skies, high only in the lower 40s, and a northwest wind at 15 to 30. Right now, sunny skies and 42 degrees in Des Moines.
And there's lots coming up tonight on the TV-8 News Live at 10. Des Moines neighborhood groups and police narcotics officers will hold their final meeting on fighting neighborhood crime. The recommendations coming from these gatherings will go into booklets for neighborhood leaders to read and use. Also, you can learn how new computer programs will take Iowa farmers into the 21st century. One punch of a computer key can tell farmers how tensions in Lithuania will affect their corn prices, or what heavy afternoon rains in Brazil mean to soybeans. Allison Gilman on High-Tech Farming by Computer tonight at 10. And, of course, Pete will have the rundown on the Masters.
And that's our news at 6. Thank you for joining us.